at Lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at Lunch. Live at Lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Dozie Place, Government Street at Mid-City. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Jimmy Ott. Max Gotro is out today. Jordan Kitch is back in the studio. Andy Isco with us today from Las Vegas. Scott Rabelais with us today, fresh off his trip to the Masters. And in between, I think we got Rabelais in between suitcases right now. He's packing up for the NCAA Gymnastics Championships that are this weekend.
Is that this weekend?
Yeah, this weekend. It start Thursday. And so he's going to be traveling tomorrow. So we moved him up a day. He'll be with us at noon. And first class, second class, no class. We always do that on Tuesdays. And lots of news going on all over the place. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Doing great.
You enjoy the
weather's been really good since I've been back, man. It's a little damp today, but I mean, we'll deal with it. But I've just been getting out in the yard, doing a little something every day, Charlie.
I'm glad we can live up to Monte Carlo's weather calendar.
Our late March and early April is always very, very good. So Tax day, it's always a happy day.
Well. Happy after I hit the send button and it's over with.
Checks.
I can't tell you I was happy to do what I had to do.
Checks in the mail, baby.
Yeah. Let's put that behind. I always feel better after I hit send. Okay, I'm done with that for now. But wasn't a whole lot of fun. Top news today is the reports from Shams Charania that Joe Dumars is finalizing a deal to be the new president of basketball operations of the New Orleans Pelicans. Yesterday they fired David Griffin almost immediately. The news that Dumars was the leading candidate was put out there. And by the time we finished the show yesterday, that story was well out there. And here's the deal with Joe Dumars. I don't know. I don't think I got to give you his playing resume. If you listen to the show, you know that Joe Dumars was a phenomenal basketball player. He's terrific at McNeese. He was a two-time champion with the Detroit Pistons for a team that mostly I couldn't stand with the bad boy Pistons. I really like Joe Dumars.
Right.
And then his role as a general manager of the Detroit Pistons is what we're going to look at. First things first, the perception of this, before I jump into the good, the bad, and the ugly, and there's a little bit of all of that with Dumars. This is going to be perceived as a lazy hire because Dumars has a very well-known friendship with the front office, specifically Mickey Loomis, who is, I know, with the Saints, but they're all on the same campus. This deal, his name was out there before David Griffin had cleaned out his office. So obviously it's been in the works for a while. Dumars last was a general manager with the Detroit Pistons in 2014. He took on a role with Sacramento as an advisory officer for the 3 seasons between 2019 and 2022. So it's going to be perceived as this is somebody this is somebody who he has been working for the NBA in the league's office. He's been the fine guy for the last 3 years. It's going to be perceived as, hey, that's just this real convenient. He hasn't been in a position like this in over a decade. And all of that, his friendships there and all that's true. So what did he do with the Pistons? All right, so the good part is that he put together the meat, the core of the 2004 championship team. He made a trade. He got out of a bad situation with Grant Hill with the contract deal and the injury and brought in Ben Wallace for him along with Chucky Atkins. He signed Chauncey Billups. When Chauncey Billups had been considered mostly a disappointment when he was drafted as high as he was in Boston, he flourished in Detroit. He traded for Rip Hamilton, who was the leading scorer on that team. He drafted Tayshaun Prince, who was a defensive ace, and he traded for Rasheed Wallace, who was the final piece. He hired Rick Carlisle, who won 61% of his games. He hired Larry Brown, who won 66% of his games and a championship. And he hired Flip Saunders after that, who won 72% of his games. That's 2000 through 2005. And off the back end of that championship, they made the Eastern Conference Finals 6 years in a row, all the way through 2008. Everything he did from 2000 to 2008, with one glaring exception that I'm going to get to in a second, was pretty good. It resulted in a championship. It resulted in a lot of wins. Now, the bad.
Let me say.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
The key to that is Larry Brown. He's the one that put him over the top. And, we'll get into how this is perceived, because you saw all the delays. There's others who were saying it's a no-nonsense guy who's going to clean up the culture of the organization. So,
yep.
I mean, it's going to be perceived in a wide range, I think, of Joe Mars has a pretty good reputation. But Carlisle in that group won games. I'm like, damn, you firing Rick Carlisle? Well, you had Larry Brown in hand, and that's what it was. Do you have? I mean, it certainly sounds like they had Dumars in hand when they announced 24 hours ago that Griffin was gone.
Yeah, they didn't do this deal. They didn't do this deal over lunch yesterday. This deal's been in place.
And that's not a terrible way to do business. As far as, well, wait, if we're going to make a change, let's make sure it's for an improvement. Let's not go out there and oh, wait, man, nobody really wants this job. So it's not, lazy, one thing, cozy, but sometimes, Charlie, utilizing your resources through your contacts is, something that some of the stronger hires made. But I remember that hire distinctly. And, man, I was like, man, Carlisle's really doing a nice job. He's respected. But Larry Brown's a legend. He is. And he was the one, they beat that Lakers team 4-1. That was one of the first years of the 2-3-2 format. And I don't know how they lost the first game to the Lakers, but they did. And the Lakers were heavily favored. This is Kobe and Shaq's prime.
And that was the year they brought in Gary Payton and Karl Malone on that team. They were big favorites.
Heavy favorites. And they beat them in the second game, and the games weren't really close. I think they may have had one in Detroit that was close, but it was kind of a romp. And I just remember playing the right way, sharing the ball, playing defense, attention to detail. Larry Brown was one of his, of course, Kansas. I don't know when they won the whole thing. I forget what seed they were, 4 or 5 or 6 maybe, Danny and the Miracles. They were 10-point underdogs in the national championship game. You win your first 5 games in the NCAA tournament, and you're still 10-point underdogs in the final. So those two are, in a Hall of Fame career, as respected as any coaches in the history of the game.
And he made these were bold moves that he made to bring in Chauncey Billups, who, like I said, had been a disappointment in Boston. He was a top 3 pick and had not panned out there.
Pitino's first draft.
And to bring in
the Celtics.
The year they wanted Tim Duncan and lost the lottery, they ended up with Chauncey Billups. And to bring Rasheed Wallace in was a risk. He was a uber talent, but he was a handful. And Larry Brown coached him up, and Rasheed was, again, the technicals and all that stuff, but he was a great basketball player.
He did kind of behave as about as well behaved as he was, and he was quite a talent. Yeah, Dean Smith said it's the most talented guy he's ever coached.
Yeah,
he coached Michael Jordan.
Yeah, there's some pretty good guys that have come through there. So between 2000 and 2005, he only made one big mistake. It was a whopper. In 2003, the Pistons, through a trade, had the second pick in the draft. LeBron James was the first pick in the draft. They had the second pick in the draft, and they took a foreign player named Darko Milicic, who was looked at as the next Dirk Nowitzki or whatever. He's a foreign player. They weren't as common at that time, but there had been some, Nowitzki being the most prominent probably. Drazen Petrovic is a different type of player. But anyway, he was the number 2 pick. He was a bust. Never got acclimated to the NBA game. He was an absolute 100% bust. And the next guys that went in that draft were Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, who all went on to Hall of Fame careers. Big mistake. Jimmy, we were talking about that draft driving over here today. He wasn't the only one that would have taken Darko.
It was a very common thought. That Final Four was in the Superdome, and Dwayne Wade. They did when they played Carmelo Anthony. No, Syracuse played Texas. I'm sorry, Kansas. Kansas beat them. Kansas was the big favorite in that Final Four. That was your boy's last games he coached before he took the North Carolina job.
Roy Williams.
Yeah, Roy Williams. So, but and everybody's like, wait, Carmelo Anthony these guys aren't going to go second or third? Are you sure? I said, man, listen, Milicic is going too. LeBron James is going 1. Milicic is going 2. Anthony may have played his way to 3. But it was most general managers were going to make that pick. That was the common pick. He was number 2 on the board that year. And that's what I was saying. Man, nothing they could do in this tournament that's going to change that draft board. And it didn't.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the good and the bad from that section. Now, from 2008 on, it was a disaster. From 2008 to 2014 in Detroit was a disaster. These were his picks after the championship season. First-round picks: Jason Maxwell, Rodney Stuckey, Aaron Afalo, Austin Day, Greg Monroe, Brandon Knight, Andre Drummond, Contavious Caldwell-Pope. Okay. Couple of guys that had some years in the league, but for the most part, those were very, very bad. After he had gone on that heater and hired Carlisle Brown, and Flip Saunders was terrific, by the way, 176 and 70. I mean, that's a haul. But after that, he hired Michael Curry, John Kuster, Lawrence Frank, and Mo Cheeks. And if the only guy you remember out of there is Mo Cheeks because of his playing career with mostly the Sixers, I wouldn't blame you because all 4 of those guys had abysmal head coaching 1-loss records. So he hit on the first 3 and he missed on the last 4. His personnel moves were very good prior to that 2008 season, and after that they were mostly bad. He famously traded for Allen Iverson, who was in Detroit for about 15 minutes but cost him plenty. He traded for Corey Maggette, who was 33 years old, played 15 games and then retired, and it cost him a first-round pick. So again, good, the bad, and the ugly. There's a little bit of all of that. I think it's also important that he is being brought in as the president of basketball operations. There is an opportunity for him to bring in another general manager personnel type, and we'll see how they layer this thing. But if you want to see the good in Joe Dumars, there's plenty to see. If you want to see the bad in Dumars as a GM, there's plenty to see. Is this a step in the right direction? Who can say? At this point, I'm ready for something different. We went through David Griffin's resume yesterday, and there were some good things, some bad things, some bad luck, some things that happened. Matt had on his show yesterday. They asked a question. I was listening. What will David Griffin's legacy be? I know how I would have answered that question would be David Griffin never got the team that he put together on paper on the floor. Some of that was his fault, some of it wasn't, but he never got to put his vision. It never made it from the paper roster to the floor. And would it have done it next year? I don't know. But
part of that is the era of the league we're in. Mm-hmm. That's not uncommon for some teams around the league. Part of it is bad luck. I mean, when you pull a guy from Atlanta,
DeJounte Murray had been averaging 74 games a year.
Even when you drafted Zion, his build was going to be, well, Roscoe used to get so, I was like, man, look at the way he's built. He doesn't have any room for error. I mean, he's got to be in tip-top shape, and he's still, man, guys.
But everybody would have taken him. 30 for 30.
We were doing backflips.
30 for 30 general managers would have taken Zion.
No, Charlie. It's just, but there's no doubt. It's part bad luck, part these, sort of the 2 lead dogs at that time. Looked like Zion don't share his food with Ingram. I mean, one's too frail and one's too dense. And it just, it's a lot of bad luck. At Davis, is that totally uncommon for a small market team who's not really accomplished anything to want to go to L.A.? I mean, do you want to go through the list of guys that have done that over the history of the league?
It's long.
I mean, it's long, okay? But Did he make the best of that situation? It's hard
essentially-
not to say.
He got the Lakers to bid against themselves. I mean, Clutch had backed them into a corner to where they had to trade him to Los Angeles. He wasn't going to go. He wasn't going to sign anywhere else. You were going to get pennies on the dollar. He actually made about as good a deal as you could make. Now, did it all work out? No, it didn't.
I mean, there's a respected guy that turned down other jobs that were perceived to be more coveted to come on to the. I think mostly a lot of bad luck, man.
No, he did. There was some rough patches in there as well. You know, drafting Kyra Lewis was a mistake. Several of those contracts were a mistake. The Jonas situation, although he was a productive player, never really worked out. He wasn't perfect, but I'm with you. I think there was a lot more circumstances.
Dyson Daniels didn't do anything here. He's contributing now.
He led the league in steals.
I by a lot.
Yeah,
by a lot.
I never thought.
I mean,
we disagreed on him. I thought he had a lot of potential as a defensive guy. He's never a big
he's
offensive
showing that
guy.
truck,
Yeah.
but that's fine. Potential's fine, but
they drafted him when he was 18. You know, it was going to take a minute. I never thought of him as a superstar, but anyway, he was.
Jackson Hayes, he can't even get on the floor. He's playing all kinds of minutes.
Jackson Hayes was a bad pick.
He's playing all kinds of minutes.
I'm sorry, was a bad player.
More minutes now.
Right. It was a bad player for New Orleans. So some of those things. I think after you get through how he layers the front office, and we'll see what he does there.
Was Willie Green a bad hire?
Well, Willie Green had, again, increased the number of wins 3 years in a row before the bottom fell out this year. That's question. They're really 1 and 1A. What are you going to do with Willie Green? And there's significant interest from Phoenix, where he played, where the owner likes him a lot, where they just fired Mike Budenholzer yesterday, that they may want him. That may work out for both sides. He may want to change his scenery, and Phoenix may want him. The second thing is, what are you going to do with Zion Williamson? Are you going to actively take a look at trading him, or are you going to build around him? And you got to make that decision. If you're going to move. With his contract the way it is, now's probably the time to move. You got one guaranteed year left on that thing. So, are you going to ride with him, or are you going to move him? That's actually a much bigger question than who the coach is going to be.
What about that perception that he's going to kind of clean up this culture, this underachieving organization?
It's a bold task because Stan Van Gundy was brought in to do the same thing, and he was an old school taskmaster. They ran him off in 9 months.
That's what I'm about to say. The league has changed a lot since Joe Dumars was last a general manager and a player.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the real question. Would you bring Bill Polian back in to build your football team? He was a terrific GM in his day, but he's been out of the league for 12, 15 years. I don't know if he can clean up can he get this thing righted? I don't know. I know he's a basketball lifer. We've watched Joe Dumars since I was in high school. I knew about Joe Dumars at McNeese. Okay, so it's not like this guy's not qualified. But is he the right guy right now? And I know how it's going to play. That's why I wanted to be fair with him today, because everybody's blasting his hires. Oh, this is good old boy network. They know him. He's a friend. They're going to bring him in, and he hadn't been in the league in 10 years. I want to be fair. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but it's not like Joe Dumars has never accomplished anything in the league.
Who they say is more qualified.
Oh, you could go. Well, Denver just fired their guy. I mean, you could get a package deal with Mike Malone and him.
I mean, Jokic is the only star there. He ran Malone off. I guess he had to. I mean, how else would you let him go?
He's
not that very far removed from a championship, and they're good.
They had been at odds with Malone had been at odds with management, and that's him in the gym with ownership, I should say, since going back to probably right after Christmas. It didn't appear that Joker was behind it. Usually that's the case. The star player is. It didn't appear in that case. I don't know. I wasn't in Denver. I know I'd take him to coach this team.
Well, yes, in a heartbeat. We're over at Doe's Eat Place today on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City, and you think about Doe's, you think about those big steaks. It's a casual steakhouse, and it's just that simple. I mean, you can come in here, come as you are. over here to Doe's Eat Place. No need to get all dressed up. Not the case. You get the big steak, a lot healthy portions, hand-cut fries, all the different sides that they have over here. Start off with the famous hot tamales that everybody loves to share on the table before their meal. But we're over here for lunch, and great burgers and chicken sandwiches. You can get it grilled, blackened, or Nashville hot fried. That with different aiolis and cheeses and toppings, grilled onions, if you will. So you kind of build your own chicken sandwich or burger over here. And then the plate lunches that are on that chicken fried steak is I haven't seen anything as big as that. That is unbelievable. The hamburger steak, you can get it with the hand-cut fries or the mashed potatoes with the gravy. You can do the fried catfish plate. You can do the spaghettis and meatball. Homemade meatballs here at Doe's are a hidden secret. There is no doubt, man. So come on and check us out for all the different lunch specials that we have over here, because a lot of these, the lunch menu is completely different from the dinner menu. Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. Tell Scott and the staff you heard us talking about it on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, LouisianaSports.net and 104.5ESPN.com. New Handycast dropped yesterday on LSU's sweep this past weekend at the hands of Auburn. You can get that on YouTube right now. Last night, a pretty cool thing, couple of, I thought, historical things in the game between Pittsburgh and Washington. Paul Skeens pitching, and the first time ever a pitcher drafted number one had thrown to a catcher drafted number one, but also the first time that a pitcher at number one and a hitter at number two played for the same college team faced off in a game. Skeens was magnificent last night. In 6 innings, he only gave up 3 base runners. He struck out 6, gave up 1 earned run, and bounced back from the worst start of his short pro career last week against St. Louis when he gave up 5 runs in 6 innings. It was the first time he'd ever given up 5 runs in a start. Skeens for the year, the ERA is 2.96. It's 26 strikeouts. It's 3 walks. Jimmy, I think you told me yesterday he's still a co-favorite for the Cy Young early on.
Slight favorite now after last night, plus 250 down at the Queen at the DraftKings outlet in Hunter Green. Who's off to a magnificent start, is plus 300. So slight favorite. They were co-favorites before last night. His ERA dips below 3, like you talked about, 2.96. His whip, keep in mind, 1 is really good. He's .74, so he's really not walking anybody.
The 2-2 record is very deceiving. He's pitched much better. He had the one bad outing against St. Louis, but
he's 2-1 now.
I thought he was. Oh, that's right. He took a no decision in the other loss. That's correct. For Cruz, it's been a lot tougher go. Listen, this is his first full season in the big leagues. You expect there to be some growing pains somewhere along the line, but I didn't expect he would get off to this rough of a start. Skeens retired in both times he faced him last night. Cruz off to a 5-for-47 start, 106. But worse than that is he's not getting on base at all. He's got 2 walks and 19 strikeouts on the season, and I didn't expect that he would struggle. 18 strikeouts, quite as much as he has. I mean, the on-base percentage is 143, and they've sat him down for a couple of games. He's too good a hitter to go like that for long, but it's a very, very rough stretch for Cruz here to open this season. 50 at-bats is – look, it ain't the whole season. It ain't nothing either.
What did he hit last year?
He had 218 in 119 at-bats. So he played about a month. He started 31 games last year, and he had 218. But there was a little bit of power with that, too. I mean, in 119 at-bats, he did hit 3 home runs. He did have 5 doubles. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it wasn't bad either. For a rookie getting called up late in the season, you want to see what you got? Okay. But he's off to a really, really tough start.
His last 10 games, he's got 36 at-bats, 5 hits, and 1 walk. I mean, you can't.
18 strikeouts and 2 walks for the season.
Man.
That to me is a lot more. 5 for 47. If you're putting the ball in play, none. I mean, he hasn't driven in a run.
106, man.
He hasn't driven in a run.
If no RBIs,
that's what I'm saying. If he had put a lot of balls in play, I mean, you've been to the plate 47 times and you struck out 18. That's bad. I'm sorry. I love the kid, but that's bad. It just doesn't seem like he's putting the ball in play a whole lot. He's struggling. I saw both of the at-bats. Not against Skeens. I mean, everybody struggles against Skeens. I watched the 2 at-bats last night because I was curious. But he's struggling all the way around. Hope he gets it together.
Jackson Holiday, got called up last year. They sent him back down for a little bit.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like this might be the way.
That's a great example.
Because Davey Martinez, they were blowing it up, and they rebuilt, and they're way more competitive. They're improved. What they've been the last.
You remember
couple
what
of years.
he hit when he came back up? You remember what he hit when he came back up?
Holiday?
Yeah.
It was okay, but it was better, but it wasn't much. He's still kind of, I mean, look, man, it's hard to project. There's a lot of guys that are drafted top 5 that don't make it. Lot.
Maybe going down and spending 4 weeks in AAA is not the worst thing. Go get your confidence back. Go get your swing back. They haven't sent him down yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if
he's
they did.
He's a tools guy when he's playing center field. I mean, up the middle, positions in baseball are more valuable, and so he looks good. He is trying to run the bases when he's got tools. He's just not hitting, man, at all.
I suspect they'll let this go on for only about another week or so, and send him down to get your swing back.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be the first guy.
Don't forget our friends over at K&M Automotive. Charlie picked me up from over there today. Dropped off the car. I needed a couple of tires. I went to go see Jason yesterday. So now looking at him, get a slow leak. It's time to replace these 2 tires. So dropped it off so it can be done. Convenient. We'll get Rod back over there. But it's the only place I take my vehicle. He's busy because he gives people an honest deal. You've heard the horror stories where you paid what for what to get your car worked on. Not going to be the case over at K&M Automotive. Tell Jason that you heard us talking about him here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. It's on Segan near Perkins, right across Segan from Ambrosia Bakery. 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. The only place to take my vehicle, K&M Automotive.
Live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Heading out to Las Vegas, deep in the desert, lives one man. One man of many sports bets. The one and only Andy Isco.
Andy, how you doing, buddy?
Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. It's good to be back. Good, great
Understand
vacation.
You had a nice time.
Really, really nice
time. I imagine you. Okay, over under 7.5.
What is that?
Are you going over or under?
I don't know what you're getting at, Andy. Yeah.
Well, you got to just say over under, and I'll tell you what it is.
I'm an under guy. Under.
Okay. Amount of pounds you gained while on vacation.
No, surprisingly. No, I'm definitely under. No, man.
With all those great food options?
Well, a lot of walking,
yeah.
Which is okay.
That's true. A lot of hills up there, too.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. So, did you benefit or not on these crazy comebacks or collapses in the Final Four where, Auburn and Florida was the most routine.
Oh, I
Auburn lost at 9. What's that? We're going to get to that.
I thought you were going to talk about the Masters.
Well, you take which one? Did you benefit or have a tough go of both of these crazy events the last couple of weekends?
No, I did okay in the NCAA tournament. I had a nice future on Houston from back, I guess, around mid to late February, and I was able to hedge some of it in the final game against Florida because Florida had been playing just extremely well. They had been really one of the most tested teams in the field because they had to stage those comebacks, against they had to come back against that first one was the Texas Tech game they had to come back from, and the other game, the Auburn game they had to come back from. and even against UConn earlier.
absolutely.
And they had to come back. So Florida's well tested. I ended up hedging to the point where it didn't matter monetarily which side won because I was evenly hedged. But I would have kind of liked to see Houston win because I normally like to root for defensive teams, and of course Sampson may not have another chance. And Todd Golden, he's got a very bright future as a coach. He might win multiple championships with his ability to recruit and his ability to coach.
We're on the same length because I'm wondering if this is Sampson's, if this was his best chance. Because he did have, it wasn't consistent, but usually one of the three guards was usually on. Rarely were all three off. But, during the collapse, they don't even get a shot off. We were wondering when one of these scoring droughts if it was going to cost them. And it almost cost them in a Purdue game, a Sweet 16, basically a quasi-road game at the RCA Dome. But then the last three possessions, they don't even get a shot off. And I don't know.
No,
they're going to lose sleep on that one for a long time.
Yeah, I was surprised that on that last. By the way, and I think I talked about it when I was on the show last week, is that it seemed as though what Houston had done to Duke in the final few minutes on Saturday was what Florida did to Houston the final few minutes on Monday night with the defensive pressure that I think they may not have been totally prepared for. At the same time, on that final possession, I would have thought down by 2 that they might have designed a play to drive the basket to try to draw the foul, and if the basket goes in, they're shooting a free throw for a win, and if they just get fouled, they're shooting free throws for a tie in overtime.
Oh, there's no doubt. It's as old as dirt. I mean, you're struggling, offensively. Man, just to take it to attack the rim, try and get to the free throw line at least.
And I actually thought the momentum turned a lot when Houston had those 3, I guess you could almost say ticky-tack fouls called within 9 seconds of each other. That I thought was, I didn't think that was right, especially the way the game had been called prior to that point. But when you call 3 fouls in 9 seconds, I think everybody was pretty stunned and pretty shocked, and I think that just aided Florida quite a bit, catching Houston in a state of shock.
Yeah, no question, no doubt about that. All right, so the Masters, was it good to you, or?
It was because it allowed me to hedge in the overtime playoff hole because I had 131 odds on Justin Rose. Never thought I had a chance. Several times, now he made that birdie at 18, and all of a sudden they're tied, and Roy gets that birdie on 17 to take a one-shot lead, and then inexplicably missed that short putt on 18 for par that would have won it in regulation. And, of course, it was all made possible by that very, very unusual strategy. What was it on 15? I think it was the 13 or 15 where it rolled back into the water, which was a very surprising shot. And I like the Justin Rose at that odds. He's a proven player, and I was able to hedge on Rory in the overtime.
That's the one where you think, well, he's so damn long. Well, he's not laying up, and he catches the creek, because he's going for it. Not when you lay up and you go in the water. And that's the thing. So does that take away anything from this historical accomplishment by Rory? Because Charlie was the first one to win the Masters with 4 double bogeys.
Yes.
It had never been done by any player who had more than 2. And he not only had 4, he had 2 in the final round.
Yeah, and I'll pick on Nance a little bit, but Rory kept making the shot of a lifetime, and then because he would have such horrible holes, he'd have to make another shot of a lifetime. So he had 3 of them that Nance called the shots of a lifetime in the final round.
He probably had 3 throughout the final round, and I think there was late on the Saturday round too. He had 3 of the most impressive iron shots to the green. One, I think, was from the pine straw. I think that was on Saturday, maybe.
Yeah.
He played brilliant golf, but he also fell victim to some of the demons that he's had in the past, and this time it happened to win. It was certainly exciting. I also had a little bit on Oberg, who played extremely well until the late. I mean, he was part of that 3-way tie at 10 under late in the round, but maybe the experience just was a little bit overwhelming, although he did finish second last year with a similar late 4th round run, so he's got a bright future. And I guess really the disappointment had to be DeChambeau, although he sort of hinted to it even on that post-round interview on Saturday when he said his game, he sort of alluded to the fact that his game was not as sharp as he would have liked it to be.
DeChambeau, this was for the taking. I mean, He had been so clutch. I mean, he had come in with so much momentum. He started off on fire on the first couple of holes. I mean, what explains what happened to him?
I'm wondering because there are a number of live golfers, and if I recall correctly, in live golf they only play 3-round tournaments, not 4-round tournaments. And after you're repeatedly playing just you're playing 54 holes instead of 72. Maybe fatigue sets in a little bit. But he's in such good shape that I was a little surprised. But maybe the mental strain of 72 holes that he used to be accustomed to on the PGA Tour, maybe it just fades a little bit. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you'd have to ask a psychologist or something about that. But I have to think that because again, there are a lot of live golfers who didn't have the problem going from 3 back to 4.
Well, because you're not playing for the money anymore. It's more guaranteed. The term that was created was competitive form. Would these guys maintain, that drive, that competitive form, where they had to experience the stress and the pressure on these shots? He's the guy that's maintained it more than anybody, huh, Charlie?
And I would
because Cameron Smith is nowhere to be found.
No, I would say that the pressure of the Masters, because we've seen him do everything else quite recently. He played against Rory in a final round at a major last year at the U.S. Open. And won. But this was different. Why? Because it's the green jacket. It's the most hallowed thing in the sport. And to say nothing of the fact that Rory McIlroy is going for something that only 5 people have ever done. I think maybe that got to him.
It didn't get to him to the end of the round 3 and early round 4? I mean...
No. I think that there's something to the idea, the back 9 of the Masters, that I think it got to him.
Well, one thing I believe in is you watch these golfers, pay attention to sports, period. Teams or players that are chasing the lead and then protecting the lead. And it's a different mindset.
I agree, but we've seen him do everything else. We've seen him win a major. We've seen him beat Rory. We've seen him go 4 rounds since he's been to LIV. But we've never seen him against Rory at the Masters on the back 9. I think that's what it was. But
let's see him in the U.S. Open and do just fine.
That's pretty clutch shot. He beat Rory at the U.S. Open in the 4th round. But the Masters is just
to you. You think it's more that much to them?
Yes, I do. Okay. I think the Masters is different than anything else in golf. Yes, I do.
I'll tell you one thing, and I didn't see the stats on it, but it seemed to me a record number of pitch-ins or chip-ins from off the green throughout the tournament. I mean, there were at least a dozen of them that I can recall, and also a number of long putts, which you often have. But I just thought that some of the play around the green by a lot of these golfers was absolutely outstanding, especially considering the difficulty of the greens with all the slopes and everything. It's many courses they don't change all that much. In the Masters, it's almost like you're playing 4 different courses over 4 different days. The way those greens are contoured and the way they have the pin placements. That's what I think also makes it intriguing. Is that you know a lot about the areas on the course, but because of those greens and how different they are, once you get around the green, it's like 4 different courses over the 4 days.
I want to know how Scheffler got that bush to spit the ball back out onto the fringe on Thursday. I've never seen that. The ball goes all the way into that bush, and all of a sudden it's like somebody spit it out right onto the fringe of the green.
Hey, Andy, anything in baseball that you like today, or any trends that you're playing? The Dodgers were, they were supposed to be unbeatable. They're 3rd place in their division.
They're at 3rd. Yeah, I mean the Padres continue to play outstanding baseball, and right now. The odds for them to win the West are so low relative to what you would expect with an odds-on favorite such as the Dodgers. I think I saw the Padres at about 6.5 or 7-1 to win the West, so I don't think that's playable right now. But even with their record, I mean, it's still you played 10% of the season. Tonight, I'm going with I don't know if he's the front runner for the Cy Young after just a few starts, but Schwellenbach has been pitching so well for the Atlanta Braves, who have really needed. In fact, I think they're going for their first 2-game winning streak of the season up in Toronto, and the game is fairly priced. Atlanta's still struggling on offense, but I mean they had a little breakout last night, but for the most part they've been very disappointing as far as offense goes. So I like that, and I don't play a lot of overs in the NBA in the playoffs, but I can see Golden State Memphis playing a high-scoring game tonight over the 228.
Golden State and Memphis, okay, playing the Swellenbeck and Strider is supposed to come back very
tomorrow.
soon.
Yeah, the other guy who's been pitching very well is Hunter Green of Cincinnati.
Yeah, we talked about him being just behind in the Cy Young odds, in the National League Cy Young odds behind Paul Skeens. But, yeah, we know about the Braves' struggles have been highly documented. 25th out of 30 teams in scoring. You know, the highest scoring team is the Cubs. Man, they just couldn't afford a blow like that to Steele, who's out for the season. That's going to be tough for them. But that lineup can hit.
Well,
they're an over team. They're an over team. Their bullpen is bad. The Cubs' bullpen is really bad, but that lineup can score.
I think the guy who's replacing him in the rotation, Rhea, had he was a decent season for Milwaukee last year. So they have the luxury that they did have somebody that they hadn't planned on having. So that's going to be a very competitive division. I've been sort of disappointed with Milwaukee early on. Cincinnati, I think, has been a major disappointment. The team in that division that I think has been playing the best so far, and they weren't expected to do much, of the Cardinals.
Yeah, no. The Cardinals. I mean, you see the stands. It is lightly attended. I mean, it is unusual, but they're just they're in full rebuild mode. So 5 of 6 though for the Reds. So the Reds are my preseason pick in the Central. The Cubbies are going to be certainly more of a factor, but I still like Cincinnati, who's at even money now at 8
that's who I had at the start of the season as well.
Yep, and Lodolo.
I'm expecting guys like Martinez to pick things up as well.
Yeah, the kid going against Castillo today, Nick Lodolo, he's been outstanding as well. ERA under 1 and a .7 WHIP. So I like him tonight against Castillo, the former Cincinnati Red.
I just didn't like. I haven't liked a lot of the struggles that the offense has had, considering the players in that lineup. Those what do they have? A back-to-back 1-0 losses? I think 3 in a row, and 2 of them were Texas at home.
Yep. All right, Andy.
Season.
Great stuff as always, buddy. Good to have you back, man. We appreciate it. I'll talk to you next week.
Good to have you back as well, Jimmy. Take care, guys.
All right. Don't forget our friends over at Relief Windows. And Relief Windows, when you're doing things with the house, okay, there's style and then there's functionality, okay? What it looks good, but what is going to last. And you get the best of both worlds when you're dealing with for Relief Windows. If your homeowners association requires wood windows that face the street or any, hey, like mine, well, you got to do the wood windows that are made to last. A look that lasts. That's right. The wood windows at Relief Windows offer timeless style, generally regarded as the most aesthetically pleasing of all wood window materials. And the great thing about it is what they're made from. And that is, again, the highest quality service and craftsmanship around the RLS windows, the gelled windows. You don't need to worry about replacing your windows, again, for a very, very long time. Guarantee your complete satisfaction for years to come and provide the highest quality service and craftsmanship around. Again, RLS wood windows by Gel Wind, unlike your average wood, is treated on just the surface, is treated straight through to the core, offering unparalleled protection against rot, water, saturation, and termites. Get the beauty of wood windows and also the functionality that they are built to last. Relief Windows, 288-8138, 288-8138, and reliefwindows.com.
Live at Doe's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Back here at Doe's Eat Place live at lunch. Come by and see us, the lunch menu. Underrated, I think, compared to the steaks.
It's just most people come to Doe's to get those steaks for dinner, but we got a completely different menu for lunch that has generous portions. That is for sure.
Scott Rabelais will be with us. He is on his way to the NCAA championships. We'll talk with him about that, plus the Masters when we return. Here at Doe's Eat Place, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Enjoying the finer things in life is his forte. Let's bring in Scott Rabelais from The Advocate.
And we return here at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street at Mid-City. Scott, I know that the week before the Masters is always the best, the anticipation, go out there and you saw history. Are you in a little bit of a funk when you get back? Is like the vacation hangover? You get back, he's like, man, I'm not going to be able to go back to Augusta for a whole nother year. Are you okay today? I just wanted to check on you.
I'm fine. I got a grandson here who's a little bit under the weather, so you play with your grandchild, you're fine. But I got to turn around and leave tomorrow to go to Fort Worth for NCAA gymnastics, so not too much time for a hangover. But yeah, I mean, I was spent. I can't imagine what the players and the caddies are like after this week, because I was spent. It was just so much drama and emotion and excitement that I was a little wrung out by this one. But it was it was a little bit of a hangover for sure.
Well, I'm going to get into gymnastics in a second, but paint the picture for somebody that was there for people that weren't, what it was like, especially on Sunday with Rory all over the place and finally winning the tournament.
Yeah, I mean it's set up. Going to the final round, he's got a 2-stroke lead on DeChambeau, who beat him at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst last year. And you're thinking three things are going to happen. Rory's going to hold on to win. He's going to blow it again, and then what happens? What's the fallout of that? Probably to DeChambeau, or maybe someone comes out of the pack and makes a late charge, like we've seen happen a lot of times at the Masters. And Rory held on, but Justin Rose made the late charge, a great 66, made a great putt on the end. You could just sense the anticipation, Charlie. I went out there. I was out there by the practice screen and the first tee when they were going out for the final round, and people were so amped up when Rory came out to putt. They were cheering and groaning when he'd make or miss a putt on the practice screen,
Yeah.
And then Bryson comes out, and they're excited for Bryson. I wanted to judge the fan reaction, because Bryson's got a lot of fans, especially all the YouTube stuff he does now and everything. And he's really you got to hand it to him. He has really tried to remake his image and become a lot more mature player and person, I think. But I think the roars for Rory were a little bit louder, maybe 55-45. And, of course, as the round went on and Bryson fell out of contention, they're pulling for Rory and poor old Justin Rose. I don't know how many people he had pulling for him in that playoff. But it was a thrilling day, and it was just, the back and forth. I mean, Rory double bogeys the first hole, then 3 holes later he's got a bigger lead than he started with, because Bryson bogeyed 3 and 4, and Rory birdied 3 and 4. Then he makes the mistakes and he hits the great shots. I think that's one of the attractions of McIlroy. It's kind of like Phil Mickelson. He can make some tremendous shots and has tremendous talent. He can also make some really bad mistakes, and obviously we saw really bad mistakes on 13 and 18 with the wedge, with a wedge in his hand. I hit the 13th green with a wedge, Charlie, when I played Augusta 4 years ago. Okay.
Here we go.
Well, Charlie, he laid up.
No, that was. I was absolutely amazed. I could not, but flabbergasted that he missed that shot. And like Max said yesterday, you know what? He's aiming right, because that shot usually goes left on him, and it went right where he aimed it. Justin Rose, I don't know that anybody. He's impossible not to like, but he also doesn't inspire that. Oh, that's my these galleries or anything. I mean, he's just a gentleman and a great golfer. I don't know that anybody goes out there and goes, Justin Rose is my. He's just as steady as it comes, and if he'd have won, I think everybody would have appreciated that he won. But he doesn't have the biggest galleries over there. I mean, compared to some of these other guys.
No, but he's had a very nice career. I mean, he came very close to winning the Masters in 2017, lost the playoff to Sergio Garcia, won in the U.S. Open, beating Phil Mickelson. Phil's last really good shot at the Masters, the U.S. Open in 2013, won a gold medal in the Olympics, has been number 1. He's had a very nice, borderline Hall of Fame career at this point. I think the Masters would have put it over the top. And, at 44, going on 45, this is his last chance. It might be. It might well be. So, but he handled himself with extreme amount of class. And I think there's a relationship, a friendship, an appreciation between him and McIlroy. And he was just quite. I will say this: it will make it easier to pull for Justin Rose if he's in a situation like this again this season or in the near future. That's for
I think
sure.
some people were, because he he just goes about his business.
Yeah.
And
He's got fans
never,
for sure.
No,
They're just not loud.
Yeah, and but Scott, and listen, so the DeChambeau thing, and he certainly used modern technology and social media to try and reshape his image, and he's going out of his way to try and please the fans. That scene leaving 18 after he drilled that bomb to pull within 2 and secure his position in the final group with Rory was fun. It was just fun for the patrons who are just forced to behave so much. They could kind of unwind a little bit, so that was fun. But, man, some of it is just over the top disingenuous, man. I mean, it's a little much, huh?
For me, it's a little much. I've always said I was a Nolan Ryan fan. Strike you out and put his head down and walk back to the dugout. No theatrics or fist pumping or anything like that. It's just, I got you out. I'm going. I'm going back to sit down. And I kind of like that. It was very different watching their body language. These men came off of 18 on Saturday. Rory hardly even looked up as he's going through that path that they take from the 18th green to the clubhouse where they sign their scorecards. And DeChambeau is high-fiving everyone. Now Rory hugged everyone on the property after he won, obviously, on Sunday. But, it was very different, and you could see the pressure, the two. And it seemed like it suited Bryson's personality and his style to be the pursuer. 2 strokes back, you'd rather be 1 stroke back, but it seemed like he was in a perfect ambush spot for Rory. And Rory's like, you gotta hold on to the lead, and it's hard to be as aggressive. But guys, when he finally won, guys, I don't know, when have we ever seen an athlete who you just could physically see the relief, and the weight just rolling off of him as he just broke down and sobbed. And I admit, I teared up. I did. I mean, just because how much this meant to him and know how much he's dealt with all this stuff. And look, now the next person in line is Jordan Spieth, probably, right? He's going to the PGA next month. That's the one major he needs for the career Grand Slam. But I don't think Jordan Spieth is going to face nearly the kind of scrutiny and second guessing and wondering if he's ever going to do it that Rory McIlroy has faced for a decade. I don't think it's going to be as intense for him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's going to be quite the same.
No, he's not playing at the level that Rory is playing coming into this thing, so he's not going to be one of the favorites the way Rory was. And I'll tell you, when he broke down that emotion, I'll tell you what it reminded me of. When Michael Jordan won his first NBA title, he's crying on the trophy, and you could tell. He'd come close, and the Pistons had beat the crap out of him physically, and then he got over the top, and his dad was there, and I don't know. That's what I thought of.
Yeah, because it was hard. It was a struggle, and so it is appreciated. And none of that I felt was disingenuous. Was over the top. I mean, it showed you just how much pressure he was feeling when he finally, and thank God he put it to where, because if it's 5 to 6 feet away, that'd have made it a whole lot more interesting, if he's going to miss another one. So, I mean, my gosh. So, and Bryson you listen to the post-tournament, the Saturday post-round interviews with Bryson and with Rory, and they were completely different. Bryson's like, I got him right where I want him, and Rory's totally downplaying it. Totally downplaying, like just, no, we're just going to play. And Bryson's like, he thought he had him in a spot where he would cave again, and man, the first 2 holes, it looks like he is.
And he shot 73, he gave him an opportunity.
Did y'all see that Bryson said that Rory did not speak to him during the final round?
Yeah, I did, but it was more of a focus thing than a
that's the best way for him. No, man. Look, however you handle it. I mean, hey, look.
I'm trying to
I have no problem. Scott, what I want to know is how big is it now that you had a great Masters on, the entertainment, the lead changes, the schizophrenic round by Rory on Sunday, but how much is it now that golf hit it big without Tiger?
That's a very good point, Jimmy. I think it's really big because obviously the last time we saw anything that was engendered this kind of reaction from people from non-golf fans, right? Just the average sports fan. that was this, into a golf tournament was when Tiger won in 2019 to win his fifth. This is big. I mean, look, Tiger, obviously he didn't even attend the tournament this year, even the Champions Dinner. So, he's whether we see him play, he's going to be 50 in December. So, whether we ever see him play at a highly competitive level again, I'm very skeptical, although I've been skeptical of him before. So golf has to move forward. And look, Rory continues to carry that banner, right? You have people like Brad Faxon, the former PGA Tour pro, his putting coach, says he thinks he could double his total of majors. And wouldn't that, isn't that going to be an interesting chase to see? 3 men have won double-digit professional majors: Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and Walter Hagen, way back in the day. So if you get to 9 or 10, that would be something. He's already an all-time great, obviously, but he's really pursuing history now. So this was great for golf. Obviously, golf has enjoyed a bump since the pandemic when people were looking for things to do, and they kind of rediscovered golf again. To now, and especially now in this split world of professional golf, this civil war that's continuing to go on. And that was another factor, right, Sunday, right? The LIV guy versus the PGA Tour guy. 2 guys who are carrying the banner for their respective tours. And doesn't seem like it's going to be settled again anytime soon. And so, given all that, golf really could use something like this, and it was very timely. And where do we go from here? A little bit, I guess, is the question. But it was great for what happened when it happened.
One more thing to wrap up on the Masters. This story got buried, and I understand why. But going to 16. Ludwig Ahlberg is on the lead. He is in a 3-way tie for the lead. This is the 5th-ranked golfer in the world. He has played well at Augusta, and frankly, Scott, he's somebody that I think is going to win this tournament maybe more than once before he hangs up his clubs. But he collapsed on the last 2 holes. Did you hear
the
anything?
last one? He's just trying to overextend.
Right.
Okay.
He could have gotten down in 5, but he would have bogeyed it anyway. So he collapsed on the last 2 holes, and he's not in contention. Did you hear him talk at all after that? Because I think this is going to benefit him down the road, and he's going to win this tournament somewhere. But he knows now what it feels like to have a chance to win the Masters with 2 holes to go.
I did not hear anything from him. I was so focused on the guys who made it to the playoffs. So no, but he finished second. He still finished in the top 10. I mean, he still, despite coming down the stretch, and he really had as much shot as Patrick Reed had. Patrick made that 2 on 17 and needed another 2 to get into a playoff, which obviously is astronomical chance of that happening. But he's a tremendous talent. Very level-headed. Doesn't seem to get too high, too low. Has all the shots. I think it's very likely that he's
one of the stars. Yeah, I mean, he is a star. And look, the one win he had on a PGA Tour, he didn't exactly blow him away at the end. He kind of, it was a little bit of a struggle to get that win. But the talent he's coming.
Just 25. I mean, he's going to win that tournament.
Man, he's beautiful to watch, man. He's so fluid.
He's going to win it. All right, Scott, you're on your way to Fort Worth tomorrow, the NCAA semifinals. There's 8 teams that go, 2 4-team semifinals. LSU is in the first one. This is at 8 o'clock on Thursday night. LSU, Utah, UCLA, and Michigan State, top 2 advance to the finals on Saturday. And the other semifinal is all SEC teams, Oklahoma, Florida, Alabama, and Missouri. So LSU, the number 1 seed, this is the first time they've gotten to this point as the first time they've been the number 1 seed. So they're the favorites. What do you expect?
I think they got the tougher of the 2 semifinals. Quite honestly, I mean, Alabama and Missouri are just happy to be there. It's really should be shame on Oklahoma, who didn't advance last year. Of course, they really
stepped out of bounds.
Burned on vault.
Stepped out of bounds.
But really should be Oklahoma and Florida easily advancing on that side. Michigan State pursued LSU. Now LSU they didn't really put the foot on the gas in the regional final at Penn State. They were trying to just kind of not make this their peak, and Michigan State is trying to get in there for the first time in forever. And so, but they were right on LSU's heels. And then you have Utah and UCLA, especially with Jordan Childs, one of the American Olympians from last year, on their team. They're a very talented team, but some talented team is going to get left out of advancing to the final on that side. So, yes, it should. LSU, I've been saying all year, LSU, Oklahoma, and Florida. Not going to shock me if any of those teams win the national championship. LSU bested them at SECs. Florida kind of has a tendency to not do well in the big meets. They have all the talent in the world, but they sometimes come up short. I think it could be LSU and Oklahoma. Oklahoma had the best score of anybody in a regional final, 198-425. But LSU's capable of similar scores as well. It's just who does it on that day, who's on, and it could very well be LSU again. I think there's some pressure, obviously. They've dealt with that all year long. But I think they've got just as much ability to win. But it's just going to be who is on, who's sticking those landings, Charlie. Who maybe steps out of bounds. Who certainly you can't. If someone counts a fall, you're done. So that's it's going to be exciting Thursday and Friday.
That's what sport's supposed to be. Who performs on that day. Yes, yeah. That's what it's supposed. That's what it's all about.
And I think the first time I've ever heard that the side with all of the SEC teams is the easier side. You don't hear that very often.
But Scott, who do you give an edge? Because Oklahoma is used to win, so they may have a little bit more of a hunger factor, and then LSU is, man, they've been so good. So maybe the best team, going in to postseason.
Yes, Oklahoma has the hunger factor, and they've met up 3 times this year, right? Oklahoma won the 14 meet in Oklahoma City back in January. LSU beat them here head-to-head in the meet in Baton Rouge, and LSU beat them along with Florida and everybody else at SECs in Birmingham. So they've been right there with each other all season long, I give that edge to Oklahoma, and that they're trying to prove something. They were embarrassed. They were embarrassed last year with how they did on vault. It was their worst score on vault in like 8 years or something like that, and it just knocked them out from the start. And so they've lived with that all year long, and that's something that can pursue. But LSU is the deeper team. LSU's got more depth, and now they've added Connor McLean back on floor. She was only doing bars and beam all season long, recovering from an Achilles injury. So they've got her back on floor. Don't have KJ Johnson. Don't have Olivia Dunn. Don't have KJ Johnson doing floor. She does ball. And then the 3 great all-arounders: Haley Bryant, Aaliyah Finnegan, and the freshman Kaylin Chio. Chio's got to perform. I thought she kind of was not quite as great in the regional as she has been all during the regular season. Maybe a little fatigue. The week off probably helped her. They need her to come through with a big performance to get them in the final and in the final.
Freshman, right?
Yes. Freshman of the year.
So, it's new. Yeah. So
safe travels, Rab. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, gentlemen. Take care.
All right, don't forget our friends over at Total Maintenance. So I called up and got my Jimmy Yacht AC visit. That's right, the $79 instead of normally $179. You got to see the before and after. Well, I can't do it, on the radio, but you wouldn't believe. Look, if your unit is anywhere near where you cut grass, it's going to get dirty. It needs to breathe. The only adjustment I had to make is, I had to raise my thermostat up a couple of degrees because it's colder in my house, set at the same temperature I've had set for years. Man, it's just running more efficiently. It's cooling quicker. It is saving. It is going to lower my monthly bills. It's going to extend the lifetime of your unit, all for just $79. Normally $179. Who doesn't want lower? And it's going to help avoid some more inconvenient and some more costly damages or breakdowns in the summer when it's really bad. Make sure that your unit is prepared. Look, don't be fooled by these mild temperatures that we have right now. It's getting hot really soon. Call our friends over at Total Maintenance, 480-1000, 480-1000. Do like you did. I'm telling you, the unit is running way more efficiently. Had to move up the thermostat a couple of degrees. It's gotten cooler in the odd house. One-time AC visit, just $79. Just mentioned 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. That's Total Maintenance, 480-1000. Live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
And we're also brought to you in part by Coastal Capital Advisors, because when it comes to retirement, no two situations are exactly the same. So let Coastal Capital Advisors work with you. No matter what your age, no matter what your income level, they'll work for the plan that is best for you. get you involved in the decision-making process along with your business partners, your legal team, tax professionals, to make sure that all your retirement goals are in place. They'll also keep you up to date, when things happen like it's happened in the market the last several weeks. They'll be able to give you all the information that you need to make informed decisions, and I know because they've done that for me. For more information, contact Philip Fontenot and his staff, 337-981-1376. And online, it's coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors, member FINRA, SIPC. The Pelican story continues to just take more turns. Our friend Shamit Dua, who's been on the show a number of times, is a contributor for WDSU down in New Orleans, and he was reporting on Blue Sky right now. So we know Shamit a little bit, and he doesn't post stuff just to post and get a reaction. He's got a source somewhere, and his sources are pretty good. So when he posts that New Orleans Pelicans ownership is expected to instruct Joe Dumars to trade Zion Williamson, he's got something. He's not just posting that as a hot take reaction. I got some mixed feelings about it for sure, Jimmy. And
I almost said, Charlie, it's kind of the high draft pick who's got a chance to be a superstar. It's kind of just not working out in a smaller market that's struggling on the. This is kind of you start expecting him to kind of his crew to kind of start looking out elsewhere, huh? No matter what the ownership or the new general manager or whatever they feel the best strategy is.
I don't read this as he's forcing his way out. I feel it's management is ready to move on from him, or ownership.
I hear
is
you,
ready to move
but
on from him.
It's kind of, a franchise in the market the size of New Orleans only has so much of a window with a guy that comes out this coveted. Now, he's not a Darko bust, but he is a disappointment.
He's a disappointment because of the number of games that he's played. When he's played, the numbers have been very good.
He's a handful.
The numbers have been fantastic, but he's playing about 44% of the time. So my first thing is I usually do not like ownership directing the personnel people on what to do. So that concerns me. The second thing is, where do you land in the draft lottery? I can stomach this a lot easier if Cooper Flagg is the pick. They've got the fourth best odds in this thing. If you get him, well, then this becomes a lot easier.
You can't.
Well, you're not going to trade him before the draft lottery, so that's going to come into play. The next thing is, he was in shape this year when he played, but the hamstring injury kept him out again.
He's
always
like that, Charlie.
He's always going to be. He's always going to be there.
You can't just kill him, for his lack of conditioning. It's been part of it, but he has no room for error, and he's still going to break down some.
And then what is his value right now? What can you get for him? And nobody can answer that completely.
I think now is also the time before another year of like 35, 40, let's just say the average, the 44 games. You don't. It's gonna hurt the demand. His stock. I mean, it's already been. It's not what it was when he's coming out of college.
Oh, it's nowhere near what it was.
Okay, but it's also he's still got some teams that. Man,
I think you could roll a very attractive package for him, but I don't know exactly how much.
Well, I mean, it's what sport you take a chance at a guy that's really good. It's been hurt a lot of time. All we got to do is look at the American League Cy Young last year. Chris Sale could throw anything in his. He won a Cy Young. It wasn't close.
Right.
I mean,
the guy I can compare him to again and again, and this guy was in demand, was Bill Walton. Bill Walton played about the same percentage of games in his career that Zion has played to this point. And to be honest with you, Zion's raw numbers are even better.
Walton had a ring, bro, that he carried the team, too.
He did.
And that was a real heavily favored Philadelphia 76ers
and you know
team
when he did
with
that?
McGinnis, Dr. J. I mean,
he did that when he is Zion's age now. Okay, it gets lost how young Zion was when he came into the league. Walton had 4 years at UCLA.
Well, yeah. So, one guy had 1 year, one year had 4.
Yeah, so if we're going to factor age into this thing, maturity level, conditioning, and
he was developing his game
at
UCLA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Bill
But he
Walton was
carried that team.
He was the MVP of the league. Okay,
That year?
It was the next year, but he was.
Oh, so he won it one year and was MVP the next?
Yes,
Damn, we'll carry over effect.
Yeah, and then he was hurt, and he was out for 4 years, basically. He
Right,
played,
right.
I think, 15 games.
Big
in 4
men get
years.
hurt, bro.
And then he came back, and he was the sixth man of the year, and the Celtics won the title. And then after that, he basically never played again.
How good would Greg Oden have been? How good would Yao Ming have been?
Yeah.
The big guys get hurt, and he's not super tall. He's not a 7-footer, but
The
he's
difference
a
between
big
him
guy.
and Oden was Oden never stayed healthy. Walton stayed healthy for about 4 years. You know, you saw what you had. With
Well,
Zion,
the difference between
see,
Zion and Walton is this guy got it. Is Zion close to an MVP? Hell no.
No.
He's been an All-Star?
once.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and this guy won a ring and won an MVP.
Yeah. The raw numbers are there for Zion, but no, he's never had anything close to the team success that Walton has had. But again, Walton had that team success at an age that Zion is now at. I don't know what you could get for him. I really don't. It's the trepidation is that he goes somewhere and he finally puts together everything that he's been working on, and that's the risk that you take.
Wait, he played 75 1 year?
No, I think he played 64 the year Van Gundy was there. I think was the high water
That's the
mark.
high?
64, 62, something like
Close to
that.
70.
Yeah. Maybe it was 70. It was something like that. The 44% I got right because I've written that. That's been burned into my brain. And the 30 last year, how do you want to look at it, positive or negative? That he was finally in shape. He got hurt anyway. So is it just a matter of conditioning, or like you're saying, is that body just always going to be, hey, top of the mark is going to be 60 games in a perfect year? The Van Gundy year, I think it was 64 games. I'm not positive. Whatever it is, it's not something that he is likely to have.
70, Charlie.
Was it 70? Okay.
Yeah. Last year.
No, not last year.
Game 70. Last year, 23-24. Not this past year.
He played 70 games. I thought it was the Van Gundy year.
70 games, Charlie.
Okay. Well, one time in.
Okay, I mean you get. I mean he's one season removed from playing the most games he's played.
Yeah. 70. You're right. It was.
There's some
61 in the Van Gundy year was what I was thinking about. So 2 years out of 6. Because 1 year he missed altogether. The 22 season he missed altogether. So 2 years out of 6, he's played over 60 games.
Yes, correct. And the others aren't close.
No.
It's none, 29, 30, 24. I mean, so.
I like every other person that follows the Pelicans is fatigued that we have to go through this every year. And I could see Gail Benson saying, okay, watching him get beat by 50 the other night, go, okay, that's it. We're changing the general manager. I'm bringing in somebody I know, and his first job is to get rid of Zion Williamson and get a return for him. I could. That's a plausible scenario to me. I don't know if it's the right one, but it's a plausible
There's got
scenario.
to be a little bit of malcontent with Zion's crew with New Orleans as well. There's got to be.
He's got one guaranteed year left on his contract. I haven't heard that, but maybe.
You don't think that's normal? To have a little bit, 6 years. What have they done?
Nothing.
Okay.
I mean,
you've had him for 6 years.
Yeah, and nothing has happened.
So bad luck or not or whatever. Griffin's gone. It's a little bit of man. These people don't know what they're doing. These people can't take it. Everybody's breaking down. They never broke down before. Part of it can be like, man, it's not. That's just natural for a big superstar to put past the blame. Not just look in the mirror for all of it.
I wish it was coming off of that. I wish it was coming off that 70 game season.
Is that
his value would be a lot higher?
If you ask people around the league, they know what they're doing in New Orleans.
No.
Okay.
They are.
All right.
Griffin had a lot of respect coming in, and most people like Willie Green, but as an organization, no, they are not. No, they've been a mess.
Don't forget our friends at Workbox. Workbox service can handle all of your movable storage needs. commercial or residential. Their shipping containers they come in all sizes, 8x8, 8x10, 8x20, even 8x40 feet, not just one size. It can be customized for any use. Need a lunchroom? No problem. You need a portable office? No problem. You need dual purpose, part office, part storage? No problem. A work site for your workers, plumbers, welders, whatever it is, climate control, air conditioning, shelving, lighting, different materials, whatever you need, hunting, for hunting, you name it, we can customize these things to your liking. Give my buddy Martin Padial and Workbox a call at 343-4886. That's 343-4886 and WorkboxLLC.com.
Live at Doe's, live at Lunch 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch, first class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
No man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
Life had become like school on Sunday. No class. I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, and no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
Going to return here at Doe's, first class, second class, no class. Jimmy, I'm going to let you go for first class here because we lost a friend fairly recently.
Yeah, a few weeks has passed, so, been in and out of town and on vacation, and so, we've done this show. We do it on location, and one of the locations we did for quite some time was Louis Cafe. And for 33 years, the cooking comedian, Frenchie, Marcus Frenchie Cox, for 33 years used that open kitchen. That open kitchen was the perfect setting or stage for a performer because my man loved to perform. And as soon as you came in, he had a comment for you as he's juggling the cooking and with the comedy and throwing different cracks at you. And a wide range of things, whether it's local politics to LSU sports to the Saints to my tennis team. I mean, he was throwing it out. And so one day, in a couple of days, come to me, because one day, I forget what was going on, but we were doing a show, and I said, Frenchie, man, my co-host is out today. You want to do the show with me? Well, he did the entire show with me. So I also created a monster because whenever we come in there, he would be rude to y'all. He would I'm not good enough anymore, and stuff like that. So we'd bring him on like at the open sometimes, and if I didn't, he would get upset. But he loved the stage, and he was just part of the charm for so many years. You could tell the accent growing up in Avoyelles Parish. Cooking became second nature because he would always credit his mother with his love of cooking, but also he joined the military early and formally trained at Cordon Bleu in France as part of serving the military. So, but that show, he'd always bring it back and ask me for all the characters who would come around. But you know what? So when Ethan was a baby, I'd bring him over on Sundays and try and squeeze in Louis and to get him dinosaur-shaped pancakes that Frenchie used to like to do, and he was funny. And so then one day was show, and Ethan's 3 or 4, and Malia's at work, and I can't find a sitter. And so he had to come with me to Louis. Well, what does he want? Can he make the dinosaur pancakes only lasted so long. Then he's like on the curtains. The chocolate milk only lasted so long, and he's trying it's kind of hanging on the curtains by the windows. And so as people are coming into Louis, welcome to Louis Daycare. Make yourself, So just off the cuff things like that, And he would always talk about, oh my God, I hadn't seen you since you were climbing on my curtains over here.
Yeah.
Just full of life, full of, he'd give it to you sometimes, he'd praise you sometimes, never met us there, but just, for 33 years. And listen, he worked at Jubin's, he worked at Phil's Oyster Bar, but for 33 years he was a staple, and that was his stage, man. And, I brought him home, we'd hang out sometimes, I'd go visit, and when you get him away from the stage, he would chill out a little bit. He wasn't always, but he was a kind soul who will be missed, but never, ever forgotten. And, our colleague, Jim Inkster, from Tiger Reg and WRKF and, just forever, doing similar things with us. Always just thought the world of Louis and Frenchie, and just would always, talk with me about him. So, he wanted to I just wanted to take the time. It's been a few weeks. He passed at the age of 71. Gone, but trust me, brother, you are not forgotten.
You know who he reminded me of? He reminded me of Don Rickles. And hang with me for a second, because Don Rickles, if you ever saw his act, okay, he was the king of mean, okay?
Yeah.
But it was all an act, okay? My wife, when in her early 20s, worked at a hotel in Las Vegas, and Rickles stayed there when he performed, and she said he was the nicest man you have ever met in your life. It was all an act, okay? And so that's how I took it with Frenchie whenever we come in and he, the daycare thing, or, oh, I'm not good, or whatever he would say. I took it like that. It was all in jest, and it was all fun. It was all good-natured. And once you got past all the little quips and everything, he was just the nicest
He
guy.
loved telling me about his dog, Elvis. Elvis, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Second class today. We've already covered both of these things, so I'm just going to kind of move past it. The Pelicans reset and LSU gymnastics, both of them, good with a chance for the gymnastics teams to be great. For the Pelicans, just a chance to reset. We'll see how that works. I'd like to move on to no class quickly, because I want to ask you a couple of questions about this. The whole Nico Iamaleava situation, the more you hear about it, the uglier it gets. His father's involvement, the potential that his father was organizing several players to push Tennessee for more money before the playoff game with Ohio State, and that there was some dissension before that game, which would explain a lot compared to how they played that particular night. I mean, Tennessee was out of it before everybody got into their seat good. But the angle I want to take here, Jimmy, and ask you about is Josh Heupel. Okay, Josh Heupel's getting a lot of love right now for standing up for Tennessee, standing up. You had a contract, you made an agreement, you did, and I agree with all of that. My question is that going to hold up if they lose in the fall? If they do worse than what people perceive they would have done with Nico as quarterback, are they going to cut Heupel some slack? Tennessee fan base, the media, the team, whatever. Is that going to hold if they come out of the gate 3-3, or they get to November and they're 4-6 or something like that? He's getting all the love now, and I think he did the right thing. But will it hold if they lose?
Charlie, if you're going to let a player sort of wreck your team or hold you hostage because he better be damn good. Lawrence Taylor was not a perfect gentleman off the field.
No.
Miss me, but damn it, I mean he helped you win games. Nico's not that good, and life's a poker game, and he's overplaying his hand, and. You're not good enough for me. We got, and I just told you yesterday. There's more of these that happen, and now it's coming out. So you did it when we're getting ready to play in the playoff game. Remember how many fans went to Columbus and bought all Ohio State's? They got the code some kind of way, and
everybody was down on day at the time.
Embarrassed the don't let them Ohio State fans peacock now. Man, I saw it. Were you in the stands that night? That's what I want to know. When your team needed you the most, were you in the stands at that time? Because there's a lot more now. But man, Tennessee embarrassed. Man, think about the excitement level for that program to break through and play their first playoff game, and you got this crap going on. Listen, forget it. It's not going back to where it was, but it's also got to be controlled. There is a balance. There is a balance somewhere, and it's the coaches are getting paid a lot of money to figure it out. But Charlie, this goes way before NIL, pay for play, everything, unlimited transfers. Every coach has dealt with a star player who is a problem.
Well, I can think of one right here.
Okay, every coach has dealt with one that's like, okay, I got to maintain. I can't hold my whole team to one standard and let one guy, embarrass me with my policies.
Yep.
Okay, but then but Parcells tells bro, you better figure out how to coexist with this guy because this guy is. And my dad has cut some really good players from his team, growing up. Because he couldn't hold the rest of the team to that same standard if he didn't hold that guy. And man, that's when you get leaders are. And that's when you got a guy like Joe Burrow, who's your best player, who works harder than anybody else. You're hearing about Paige Beckers right now. I mean, that's when you got something, man. Because the coach can only preach so much, man. You need a little help from your star players.
I agree with all of that. All I know is that when Les Miles ran Ryan Perilou off because he had become too much of a distraction off the field, he was given a lot of credit for it in the spring. And when they were throwing pick sixes left and right in the fall, everybody forgot that, they'd be better off with Perilou as a quarterback, but they had to run him off.
He's paid to win.
Yeah.
No. He's paid to win.
I don't think he's going to get any credit for it.
But I don't think
right now he is.
Nico's no Perilou.
No, he's not.
No.
He's not.
No.
Take a break. Come back, wrap things up here. Doe's Eat Place, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Today's show also brought to you by the Thibodeau Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau. Getting the yard in shape right now. 40% off all of your hoses right now. Big savings on the website at doitbest.com/Thibodeau Store on wheelbarrows, potting saw, weed killer, spreaders, and seeders. And once you get the yard in shape, get those grills going. A huge selection of grills, including the Big Green Egg cookers and your specialty Cajun cookware. All of that is available, or the Cajun cookware is available for free delivery. Check it out at doitbest.com/Thibodeau Store. Got a couple of NBA play-in games tonight, Jimmy. We got one pick from Andy, Grizzlies and Warriors. He likes the over in that game at 227.5. Also, the Hawks and the Magic
tough,
tonight.
Man, with Jimmy Butler,
Yeah, they really have.
There's no doubt about that. And boy, Memphis is kind of they faded easily. I mean, Houston won that division easily. That was they had the lead for a little bit, and but Houston sewed that thing up with about 5-6 games to go. So, and of course, the headache with Ja Morant, it just continues. And then offense versus defense. The Hawks are offensive-oriented. The Magic, number 2 in points allowed per possession defensively. But the Hawks certainly more battle-tested in the postseason.
These are the 7 versus 8 games. The winners move into the playoff round. Tomorrow we'll be at Finbaum. Thanks to the folks here at Doe's. For Jimmy Odd, for Jordan Kinchins, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. And stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.